In this episode, Volkswagens, New Balances, and greatest hits. Welcome to episode 61 of the We Are Auto Show. How are you, Derek?
Mr. Michael Rao, I am doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I am doing not very good.
What do you mean?
So I don't have a Volkswagen anymore
Why?
because I now have a Volkswagen.
Oh, what happened?
All of the coolant that was in it is now all over my garage floor.
Oh, it's like me and motor oil.
Yes, but this is not self-inflicted.
Uh-oh.
This is something that's gone wrong.
What happened?
I don't know. I haven't had a chance to take it into a shop yet. I mean, I've opened the hood and I've inspected and looked for like wet lines going to and from the coolant reservoir tank. Couldn't really find anything. The only moisture I could find was coming out of the radiator, which would make sense if there's an issue with the radiator. Maybe it picked up a big hunk of rock or something.
Did this happen while it was off?
It must have happened at the end of the last drive, right as it was getting parked in the garage. Because my wife went to back out. She was going to go for a drive and meet some friends, and the coolant light came on. She's like, oh, I'm going to park this bitch right here. Yeah. And I got home, opened the hood, and I was like, wow, there's not a single drop of coolant anywhere in that tank at all.
That's not good.
Yeah. So I've got a Volkswagen.
You do.
It needs some love. But you know what? To its credit, this is a car that has been around the country. It's gone almost transcontinental at this point. It's gone north, it's gone west, it's gone south, it's gone all over the country. Colorado up to some 14,000 foot peaks.
Dang.
Been all over the country. And this is the first thing that's actually gone wrong on it. And it's now got like 93,000 miles on it. So, you know what? I feel pretty lucky that the first thing that's gone wrong has been after 93,000 miles and cross-country trips. So, you know what? Is it a pain in the ass? Yeah, but I'm okay.
That's not too bad. It could be something simple, like a seal needs to be replaced, or
Could
a
be.
hose fell off, right? Or it could be a hole in the fiscal radiator itself, which is a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out. You'll get it fixed.
Yeah, it'll get fixed at some point
Right.
when I have time.
You could always do the Florida man thing and just fill your radiator with water to get it to wherever you need to go.
Yeah, I will say, luckily, there's a German specialist shop literally right in front of my community.
How convenient.
It's so convenient. So I'm maybe making the little hop over there and topping up with coolant every 14 yards and calling it done. But yeah, I've now no longer got a Volkswagen. I got a Volkswagen for now.
Yeah, that's inconvenient.
It is. But let's move on from that.
Okay.
Because I did have a grinds my gears that has come up and really does grinds my gears.
Okay.
So what really grinds my gears is that when you're driving on maybe a long straight road and you've got a car beside you and they won't pass you, but they won't not pass you, but they pass you a little bit and then they drop back and then they go screaming past you and then you catch up to drivers that can't hold speed at all.
Okay. So this is not the situation where you're on cruise and you go up a hill and everybody around you slows down and you
Correct.
go down the hill and everybody speeds up.
It's not even that. It's literally just flat and level ground. I see your point, and that's common.
Yeah.
But this is just flat and level ground going forever, and the car next to you is faster, slower, back and forth all day.
They need cruise.
It's so annoying.
When you're on those long road trips, that is terrible. That is awful.
It was actually really funny because there was an instance that came up to me this past week where I was in the right lane. It was like a 55 mile an hour road. I was tootling on down at like 58, 59. It's not like I was flying. I wasn't also slow at 45. And there was a guy that was beside me in an old kind of beat up Ford Explorer. And it sounded like a Ford Explorer that's maybe not a V8, but is now turned into a V7. It's missing a cylinder there somewhere.
Yeah.
But I could actually hear him go way harder on the gas every like 11 seconds. I could just audibly hear him. And then he comes right back down. And I'm like, Jesus, dude, can your foot just stay still? Hold your foot right there. Just on it for like 30 seconds. That's all I'm asking.
No, some people can't do it, dude. Some people cannot hold a steady speed, nor can they hold a consistent brake pressure. And it's just, I don't know.
It grinds my gears is what
it does. It definitely does.
So that's my grinds my gears.
Okay. Let's transition over to some news.
Okay.
There was lots. Well, there wasn't a lot. There was one big kind of bombshell that dropped.
It's not that there's a lot. It's that there is big news.
Yeah. Did you hear the big news that Corvette is going electric?
Unfortunately, I did. I'm not excited about that.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit. I'm actually very unexcited about this, but you probably knew that, didn't you?
I have mixed feelings about this.
Do you?
Yes. So let's talk about first what they're doing, and then let's talk about like what our reactions are.
Okay.
So they brought out a video, a teaser video, and the first thing that you see in the video is a Corvette that's under wrap that you can't see the exterior of, and it's on ice and snow somewhere up north, and they do a burnout, and the burnout starts with the front wheels, and everybody goes, huh, that's odd.
That's not very Corvette, is it?
No. And then they came out on like CNBC or something like that, the CEO of Chevrolet, and he basically said, yeah, we're making a hybrid Corvette.
That's not rear-wheel drive?
That's all-wheel drive.
Okay.
Pretty odd.
Yeesh, I don't know about that.
Yeah. So here's one of the quotes. It says, today's teaser promises to deliver a powertrain lineup starting with the introduction of an electrified Corvette as early as next year, with a fully electric version to follow.
Wait, stop. As early as next year?
Next year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why is the future happening right now? Can't we just push the future back like an extra 50 years? Just delay the future. I don't want the future yet. Just leave it out there.
No, it's coming. The electric is coming.
Then DeLorean needs to hurry up so I can time travel at 88 miles an hour back to the good old days.
Yeah. Another quote from this article. We also announced today the Ultium platform, which is like their skateboardy,
that's
battery
like,
pack.
That's how they do their batteries?
Yeah, that's the battery and the drivetrain all in one package.
Okay.
So the Ultium platform's energy recovery system, a patented onboard system that will take the heat generated by EV batteries and use it to warm the cabin, create more efficient charging conditions, and even increase the vehicle acceleration. It can boost the vehicle's range by about 10%. So they're touting some hybrid heat pump stuff, and we'll talk about heat pumps in a little bit.
It just seems like an EV that they've made better, I guess.
It is. It's like if EVs want to be efficient, you have to manage the thermals of them. So what they're saying is we've patented some system that manages the thermals of the batteries and the electric motors and maintains the temperatures to make them run efficient. Yeah. And actually, Tesla has one of these too, which is kind of interesting. But theirs is super, super complicated. They call it the octovalve, and this is what it looks like.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that's running thermal fluids.
That's Tesla.
That's
right?
Tesla. This is Tesla's octovalve.
And is that in every Tesla?
I believe so. Yes.
And that's how they control essentially the temperature of the batteries in the drivetrain, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And what that is doing is making sure that all the thermals have their proper temperature to work as efficiently as possible.
Interesting.
Now, nobody knows yet how the Ultium stuff is going to work, but if it's something like this, hopefully they did good engineering. And if they're touting 10% efficiency numbers, hopefully it's something similar to this or even more simplified than this. From what I've heard, this is a very simple way to do it, but it's still very complicated.
Yeah, I was going to say, simple is not the word I'd use to describe what that looks like.
Yes. So their Ultium platform, fancy, electric, it's coming to the Corvette. What is your take on a hybrid Corvette?
You already know my take on a hybrid Corvette.
Let me pose you this question. Okay. Do you like good car sounds?
Yes.
Internal combustions that make good noises?
Yes.
Do you like fast all-wheel drive cars?
Fast rear-wheel drive, more specifically, but yes.
What if it was like, you could split the power percentage however you wanted, and it was faster than the internal combustion one?
See, I don't care about that. It has no soul and pizzazz and character and charisma.
It will be faster.
Of course it
Guaranteed.
will. Of course. Yes, we know it's going to be faster. Have you heard of the WEC?
Yes.
What have they been running in their top class for what feels like ever now?
The
Hybrids.
Toyota.
Because it has the grunt of the ICE, the internal combustion engine, with the instantaneous torque of the battery EV side. That.
I do think a hybrid with, I'm assuming, an all-wheel drive system, which it looks like this is going to be, will be crazy fast, will sound very good, will probably get really good gas mileage, will probably kind of be a very good middle ground.
I would be more okay with a hybrid than a full EV.
I suspect initially we'll get a hybrid. Then we'll get a full EV. And from that point forward, we'll probably get a full EV.
No.
I don't think you have a say. I think it's written in stone already. Now,
you're right.
What do the New Balance touting Corvette shirt with the Corvette hat, what do they think about this?
That's a good question.
Because they're the audience. And how does Chevrolet sell this car to them?
That's a great question. I don't know how to answer that because I kind of identify with that culture of people. And I know that makes me an old fart, but I don't care. I wouldn't want one. Now, I'd want a hybrid more than I want an EV, but I still would rather a good old-fashioned lumping great V8 in a Corvette with no electrification possible.
I suspect you're correct. Most of them are not into a full EV Corvette. But I think that what they're doing here is the middle ground to get some people over there.
I think a lot of the Corvette market will draw their hard line in the sand right after hybrid before EV. Yes. I think they'll be kind of open-minded to the hybrid, and then when Chevy says the new one's going to be a full EV, I think they're all going to say hard pass.
But do you think that there are going to be some that are like, ooh, I really like that initial acceleration from my electric batteries in my hybrid Corvette, and they're going to be like, yeah, why not?
Honestly, I don't think so. Because if you're buying a Corvette, you already know, chances are, being somewhat of a car enthusiast, that electric cars like, say, a Tesla Plaid accelerates quickly.
Right.
And if you want that quick acceleration, why buy a Corvette? Then it's not a Corvette.
I mean, after the newest iteration of a Corvette, what is a Corvette?
You know, you have got a good point there.
So they went from the front engine monster that we all know was the Corvette for 7 generations to it's a mid-engine sports car. It's a hybrid. It's a full EV.
I don't like that trajectory.
Whoa.
Oh my God.
That's a big difference.
I feel like that is definitely not like a linear pattern. That's like an exponential pattern there. That's not like little baby steps. Like, first, we'll kill off the manual. Because they still had, in the C7, you could still get a manual transmission C06. And then they went straight from the generation of C7 where you could buy a manual transmission Z06 to straight up, no manual, mid-engine. Boom. There you go.
Yeah. I don't know. I can see the progression that they're going in. And I do like this progression better than dropping the bomb. Going from the C7, which is a front engine, rear wheel drive monster of a V8, going to mid-engine, all-wheel drive, full electric. They're making the steps. They're not dropping the bomb.
But are they skipping steps when they're making the steps? Instead of going 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, are they going 1 step, 5 step, 12 step, 28 step?
They kind of have to keep up with the times.
But the time, see, this is where I scratch my head, because the times of the Corvette buyer aren't keeping up with the times of the average millennial.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But do you think that, I mean, the Corvette buyer, the quintessential Corvette buyer, is getting older?
Yes.
So if you're in Chevrolet's seat right now, you're designing the Corvette for 10 years from now, what do you make?
A hybrid V8.
Exactly.
But you don't make an EV that, though.
I think you have to from a regulation standpoint. I don't think they want to, but I think you have to.
Can we just kill all regulations? Abolish the EPA.
Just chaos.
Yes. I'm not an anarchist, but if the EPA just like fell off, I'd be not unhappy by that.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I don't know. I actually am not hating this car because I see the progression, the steps that they're going for, and I would much rather see that than I would see the bomb. But we're going to get to them dropping the bomb, it sounds like, in the next few years with the full EV Corvette. But I bet you by then we'll have a full EV Mustang. We'll have a full EV Porsche.
We do. It's called a Mach-E.
It's not a Mustang.
According to Ford, it is.
Yeah, okay, sure. We'll have a full EV Porsche at that point, I bet you.
Yeah, the next 718 is going to be an EV.
We'll have a full EV BMW M3 by that point.
They've already got the BMW i4 M440i.
Yep. So it won't be the bomb that it is now at that point. And I bet you this is 3 to 5 years, somewhere in that range.
I mean, the hybrid is, according to the article, next year, right?
And what do you see a whole bunch of other car companies doing right now? Building a hybrid for a couple years until you get your battery tech sorted to the point that you can be efficient with it and mass produce it, because scale is hard, and that's what they're going to do here.
I suppose.
I kind of like it. I kind of like where they're going.
I just don't think that the next generation of Corvette buyers are going to buy an EV Corvette.
What's the next generation of Corvette buyer?
It's the son of the New Balance toting, jean short wearing, tucked in shirt wearing people.
Right.
That is also going to have that same mindset that's been passed from father to son. Because they respect lumping great V8, just like their dad did.
But I also suspect that the son will be like technologically literate, will understand where these car companies are going with this, and be like, yeah, I liked your C5 in the garage. It was fast. Welcome to my C8. That's all electric. It smokes it.
But it's so boring.
New cars that come out are going to be boring.
So boring.
They're going to be boring.
Cars are going to be the most boring things if these freaking people get their way. Cars are going to be the most boring things in the known world.
Yes,
and
they are going to be boring.
Saddens me to death.
I don't know a way out. I don't see a way out. This hybrid is like the only way out.
Maybe what happens is we go hybrid EV and then back to hybrid because they realize the EVs aren't selling and it's just a hot pile of shit, and then the hybrid is what lives.
I think the EVs will sell for your domestic cars, for your Corollas, for your Camrys, for your Civics. It'll be full EV. But for the sports cars, you want to hear the Ferrari hum. You want to hear the Italian song. You want to hear a V8, even if it's a hybrid, do rumbly things.
No, of course. Yeah.
I don't think a Mustang that is full EV, that is a proper Mustang, not an SUV, will do real well.
A proper Mustang, not an SUV.
It's not it's not.
I know. I've made that argument 1,000 times.
Right. Yeah.
But so it's using that like fancy schmancy heat pump thing?
It is using some fancy schmancy heat pump stuff. Do you know actually how, like specifically heat pumps? Do you know what a heat pump is?
Well, it's a pump of heat.
It's a way to manage thermals in like a closed system. So, for example, your refrigerator is a heat pump.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know how air conditioners or refrigerators work?
Not entirely. I know that I open the door to the fridge and it's cold.
The very simple process of it is you take a fluid, generally it's like radiator coolant, or something along those lines, or Freon for an AC unit, right?
Okay.
And you push that through a really, with a ton of force behind it, you push it through a really small nozzle, and you aerate it. You turn it into spray or small little beads of fluid. In that aeration process, you actually remove heat from it because you change the state.
Got it.
And in changing the state, you end up removing the heat. So that's how you change the actual thermodynamics of the system.
Got it.
Yeah. So what they're trying to do here is either do that process in reverse or do that process the way ACs do it to manage the heat.
Is that which way does Tesla do it? Do you know?
Both. They have to maintain the heat.
Oh, so Tesla's is okay.
So if it's really cold outside, you need to keep the heat from the batteries inside. And if it's really hot outside, you need to expel the heat out. That's why it's called a heat pump. Even though that makes it sound like it's going in one direction, in theory, a heat pump can do
either
both.
direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So that's basically what all this fancy heat pump stuff is about. You're going to hear more about this as we get more into EV stuff because managing thermals in an EV is like super, super, super important. You'll lose a ton of percentage of efficiency in a battery if you don't keep it thermally set up.
If it's too hot or too cold.
Right. Have you ever had your phone sitting out in a sunny day and your phone says, I'm too hot, I have to turn off?
Yeah.
That's because your battery's overheating. And it's like, I can't draw any load off of it because it will start to degrade the battery very quickly.
And is it the same situation from back when I lived in Colorado? I would go snowboarding all the time. My phone in my pocket would lose battery almost immediately because it's so cold out.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep. It has to be in a nice temperature pocket for it to work efficiently. Yeah.
Got it.
So it's interesting. We're going to see more and more of that as we go on. Yep. It's cool stuff. Let's move on to something different.
Okay.
Something more up your alley.
Ooh.
What might that be?
I'm excited for this. So Porsche they are releasing their greatest hits album right now, which is scaring me for the future, right? So usually the greatest hits comes at the end of all the hits, doesn't it?
Usually.
Yeah, so another one of Porsche's greatest hits is the Porsche 911 Sport Classic.
A
which
classic.
you've probably never really heard of before.
Nope.
It's a very limited run car, and there are some leaked pictures that have been circulating around the interwebs. Is right.
Do they have a current classic?
The last sport classic was 2009. It was the 997.2 generation. And it was one of my favorite cars ever made.
Okay.
And you couldn't ever buy one because all 250 of them were sold out as soon as they released it. I remember watching the 2009 Sport Classic get tested on Top Gear way back in the day. And I remember absolutely falling deeply, madly in love with this car. It has so many little touches that hark back to the essentially like the original 911. I mean, even like the 2.7 RS. It's got ducktail. It's got black headlight bezel rings around the front headlights. It's got a special interior with the Pepita houndstooth. It's just like, in a special, the color is called, are you ready? Sport Classic Gray.
What was it?
Sport Classic Gray.
Great.
It's its own color, essentially. And it had like light off shade stripes too. Yeah, God, it's so good.
So a new one is coming out.
A new one is coming. We kind of knew that there was one that's coming, but we didn't really know if it was going to be for sure or when. There was like rumors. But now there's pics of it. Ooh, I like this a lot. So as you can see by the pics, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on audio, I'm sorry because you are missing quite the show. But it is a new 992 body style, so the newest generation, right? It is in that same Sport Classic Gray with the, again, light stripes down the hood and the roof. It's got a number 60 roundel on the side, so the meatball. It's got offset Porsche lettering along the sides with beautiful Fuchs-style wheels. Oh, man. It's got the ducktail to accompany it. That is the business.
Is this every Porsche enthusiast dream?
Jesus, this is something else. This is something else. Now, the other Sport Classic that was in 2009, they only made 250 of them. The good news about this one is that they're making about 1,250 of them. So there is a rumor that they're going to make 1,250. So that means there's a better chance that we could see it. Now, something that's quite different about the new Sport Classic versus the 2009 Sport Classic. The 2009 Sport Classic was essentially based on like a Carrera GTS versus like a GT3 or a turbo. The newest, the 992 Sport Classic, is actually based on the 992 Turbo S, which is a car that's not available in a manual transmission, that is all-wheel drive and twin turbo. But Porsche has decided to fit essentially a possibly 7, maybe 6, but probably 7-speed manual to a current Turbo S, essentially.
Huh.
Really wild that they are doing this.
Yeah.
It's going to have like almost 600 horsepower, 550 horsepower, essentially. It's freaking sweet.
Wow.
I am a big fan of this. Now, it's not been stated, but I can't tell if they're going to make this rear-wheel drive or keep the turbo's all-wheel drive system. Personally, I kind of wish they just go rear-wheel drive on it. I think that'd be a good move there.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan.
It looks good.
What do you think about the interior?
First of all, I will say that if these pictures were leaked, they look like they were professionally done leaked pictures.
No, I think this is a leaked picture where Porsche was like, oh no, please don't accidentally spread all of these beautiful pictures around the internet.
Right. The interior with the beige and...
Cognac. You get it correct, sir.
Okay.
You come correct or you don't come at all.
And the black and white like plaid, I kind of do like it.
It's called houndstooth or pepita.
Okay. Of course you know. Of course. I think it looks good on this car. I also think that the gray was a good throwback. I can see the black around the headlights, very similar to the throwback, if we look at that. Yep. I can see the heritage in this car.
I am a huge fan of this. It's hot. It's a very, very good-looking car.
If they make this all-wheel drive, does that kill the car?
No, because I think the turbo with that amount of power and torque, it kind of almost needs all-wheel drive. But I just want it rear-wheel drive for the purist in me. But the purist in me then says, well, why did they convert a turbo? Why did they base it on the turbo and not base it on the GT3? That's my beef.
So do you think that when they brought... Which one didn't have the manual? It's based on the
current Turbo S.
Yeah. Do you think when they were bringing out the Turbo S, or when they were designing the Turbo S, they purposefully didn't put a manual in it?
No, because they haven't put a manual in a Turbo S since 2008. 2010-ish. But since the 997 generation. And even the second era of the 997 generation did not have a manual option for the Turbo S. It was PDK only. It's been PDK only for the turbos and Turbo S's since the 997.2.
Okay.
And we've gone 997.2, 991.1, 991.2, and now 992. So that's a lot of generations of turbo that have not had the option of a manual gearbox.
Now, I can't help but notice, but the valve stem does not
you know
line
what?
up.
I noticed that immediately, and I am so peeved that whoever put these together did not put the valve stem to the correct location with the Porsche crest on the center cap.
Leaked photos, remember.
I know. I've got some words to say with this Porsche marketing department that photoshops things.
It does look cool. Do you think that this is a north of $250,000
I think this is $1 million car.
Oh, boy. Okay.
I think this is maybe not $1 million. I think this is going to be high six figures.
Ooh.
It's limited to 1,250, and I guarantee you right now, this car is going to be sold out as now.
Yeah.
I guarantee it's already sold out.
It probably is. Do you think we'll see one around here?
Honestly, no.
Really? Have you
This
seen...
is going to go to the Sultan of Brunei. It's going to go to the Saudi Arabian oil prince. It's going to go to Toto Wolff because of his villa in Monaco. It's going to go to, yes, those people.
Okay. Have you seen any of the older one?
No, I've never seen one.
Okay.
I want to.
Yes.
If I could fondle a 997 Sport Classic, fondling I would.
Do you think that this is the last Sport Classic that will be ICE?
Yes.
Internal combustion engine.
Probably, yeah. Because it's not even an NA.
Right.
It's going to be turbo, so it's not naturally aspirated. It's already forced induction.
The old one was?
Mm-hmm.
It was NA. Okay. Good looking, cool car. We'll never see it.
I will one day find a way to see it.
Rennsport might be your way to see it.
I was going to say, if it's going to be a Rennsport reunion.
That's the play.
I want to see one so bad. I want them to line up all the Sport Classics together, and then I just have an orgasm of Porsche-ness happening and be incredible.
You should be there.
Oh, I have to be there.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
There was some stuff that happened in the racing world this past weekend. F1 had a Grand Prix. Did you happen to see any of it?
I was working and did not get to see it.
Now, this Grand Prix was in Italy, but wasn't the Italian Grand Prix.
Correct. This was Imola. This was in... I believe it's the province or the state or the whatever they call it of Romagna? Romagna,
yeah,
I think. So I'm going to try to pronounce this. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Formula One Rolex Gran Premio del Made in Italy e dell'Emilia Romagna 2022. I think that wasn't bad.
That was way better than me.
I think that wasn't bad. Maybe. So Imola, let's just call it plain out. It was at Imola, wasn't it?
It was at Imola.
Okay.
This was only about 50 miles outside of the Ferrari factory.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like 50 kilometers, so do the conversion. Anyway, basically Ferrari's home race. Huge fans of Ferrari were there. Mm-hmm. Every single stands that you saw had red flares, giant Ferrari flags. I didn't see many Red Bull fans, if any.
This is not the territory of Red Bull.
No.
This is the territory of Ferrari. This is where Tifosi would be living.
Big pressure on Leclerc and Sainz.
Mm-hmm.
So they had the sprint qualifying. So you have
which
qualifying.
I'm a fan of.
Then you do sprint qualifying. And in sprint qualifying, I believe that Leclerc started on pole. And he ended up getting passed by Max Verstappen, which set the grid for it being swapped the other way to start the race, which is Verstappen pole and then Leclerc second. They started the race. They got to about 2/3 of the race done in that order. Nothing really crazy happened in the beginning. And then around the middle of the race, when Leclerc was pushing, he ended up making a mistake. He hit a giant sausage curb. He tossed his car into the barrier. It didn't break the car enough to be able to ruin the race for him, but he didn't finish particularly well.
Yeah, he was down in the lineup with those results, I believe.
He was very down the lineup. He finished 6th, which is not good.
At essentially home.
Yeah.
Look.
There was the other Ferrari, Carlos Sainz. This was the start of the race was a little wet. They were on wet tires. It had just rained. The grip and traction was kind of unknown going into the first set of corners. And through the first 3 corners, Carlos Sainz got tangled with Daniel Ricciardo, and Sainz ended up beached in the gravel. And in F1, if you can't recover the car, you retire the car.
Yeah, pretty much.
So he retired the car in the 3rd corner of the first lap. And you better believe all the Ferrari fans were like,
yeah, as a Ferrari fan, that would be a horrible tragedy.
A heartbreaker. To watch. Yeah. The racing was actually pretty good. There were some interesting things that happened because it was a rain race. We ended up having a situation where race control did not want to open up DRS for like half the race. And I believe that they did this because last year it was Bottas and somebody else. I think the other Williams. I think it was the young guy. Can't remember his name. Who took his seat this year? So it was who took the Mercedes seat?
George Russell.
George Russell and Bottas got into it at the end of the straight at Imola last year, and they kind of blame it on DRS working in a wet track situation or a drying track situation where if you go offline, you don't have any grip. So they were overly cautious this year to not reinstate DRS after a wet track.
Makes sense.
Which was good, and then other people complain and say you're not allowing more racing, yada, yada, yada. Kind of interesting.
There's going to be people in both camps on that.
Right. So long story short, good race, some decent racing. Even without DRS being open, there was some decent racing, which was kind of cool.
Good.
The results overall, Max Verstappen won, Sergio Perez in the other Red Bull comes second, and then Lando Norris in the McLaren comes third.
Lando Norris. Let's go.
McLaren has not been doing anything this season, and then they came here and got the podium.
And get a podium 2 years back to back. Because remember, I think last year wasn't it a Ricciardo 1, Lando Norris 2 finish at Imola?
I don't know if it was
Because
Imola or somewhere else.
It was either Imola or Monza. It was in Italy when it was Verstappen and Hamilton got tangled.
Yep.
They went into the sausage curbs.
It was
and
Monza.
I think was it Monza or was it Imola?
Because it was in the first corner of Monza, which is that snake.
Yeah, it was Monza. Either way, I'm a McLaren on pole. Bravo.
No, on the podium. Not
on pole.
Yes.
Yeah, on podium. I misspoke there.
Super cool to see that. In fourth was George Russell in the Mercedes. And interestingly enough, Lewis Hamilton finished 13th in the other Mercedes out of the points.
Yikes.
So that puts us in puts Mercedes in a weird spot.
Wait. Stop. So you're telling me that an AlphaTauri, a Williams, a Haas, an Aston, and another AlphaTauri placed above Lewis Hamilton?
Yes, he was outside the points. The other Mercedes was in fourth. He was in 13th. And
wow.
It's not a good look for him.
Not only was he not in the points, he wasn't even on the lead lap.
No. When he got lapped, the commenting team from the Sky guys were like, this is weird. Yeah. This is really weird to see Lewis Hamilton get out of the way for Max Verstappen to lap him. Whoa.
Whoa, how the turntables have turned.
So if we look at the points, that puts Leclerc in the lead. He has 86 points. And remember, you can only get 26 points for a weekend. You get 25 for winning the race and then 1 for the fastest lap. Mm-hmm. That puts Max Verstappen at 59 points. So he's not super far away. He could, in theory, nearly catch him with 1 race.
Yep.
But that also puts Lewis Hamilton to 28 points. Essentially, I don't think he has a chance anymore.
I think he's pretty much out of it.
I think not only is he out of it, but I think that the Mercedes constructor is out of it too.
I think Mercedes is now going to be in a battle with McLaren.
Yeah.
Can you believe what we're saying here?
This is weird.
It is odd. I mean, I'm looking at the Constructors' Championship points. Mm-hmm. Ferrari's in the lead with 124.
Right.
Red Bull is 113 in number 2. Mercedes is 77. Then a pretty big jump to McLaren at 46. But if Mercedes keeps getting some consecutive 0-point finishes,
right,
or from one of their drivers, and maybe McLaren gets a Ricciardo 4 and a Norris 7.
Ricciardo did finish 18th in this past race. So he didn't get him any points.
No, he got tangled.
Yeah, he got tangled.
But I'm saying if McLaren next race...
Right.
pulls out a 5-8 where they're both in the points versus just Lando Norris on podium, that could be, McLaren could overtake Mercedes.
Could you imagine going into the season saying that Mercedes was not going to be in the top 3 in the constructors' points?
Could you imagine going into this season saying that Lewis Hamilton is going to be lapped and have like multiple horrible finishes?
Yeah. Well, that's crazy. That is really crazy to think.
It is. And something else that I found that I was talking to my dad about, which is kind of interesting with these new cars, is that, we've heard about all the teams talking about porpoising, right?
Yep.
Apparently, some of these drivers are porpoising, and these cars are porpoising so bad that they're having like actual back problems now.
Ooh.
Like the G-forces are actually harming the drivers at this point.
Yeah. Because
the amount of up and down is compressing the spine so hard that some of these drivers may not physically be able to take the toll of a first, second, third place finish.
Yeah, no team, from what I can tell, even the Ferrari and the Red Bull, were porpoising when I was watching the race.
No, I think the Mercedes was porpoising very badly.
Yeah. I mean, it's physically violent when those cars are porpoising.
Yeah.
It would not be fun to be driving those.
The heads
and they have to do it
around
for 2 hours straight. at high speeds. It's crazy. Another note, the next race is in Florida.
Woo!
It's in Miami.
It is my jammy.
And I will be very curious to see how this goes down.
It's funny. When they announced this last year or whatever it was, you and I were like, oh, we so have to go.
Yep.
And then, did you ever look at how much tickets were?
I did.
Oh.
Get ready to put down $1,000.
Oh. And those are for like shitty seats too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yikes.
And if you want decent seats, you're like a $10,000 weekend really quick.
I can go watch 24 hours and 12 hours of racing in Florida, conveniently. Cars that run at Le Mans, cars that run all around the U.S.
They sound great.
Fantastic. Better driving debated against F1.
Yeah.
Some ex-F1 drivers racing those cars for like $100.
Yes, but even less than that, dude.
Yeah.
If you wanted a one-day ticket at Sebring, it was like $70.
Right. I don't know why. Maybe it's the first time that this race is happening, and that's why they're so hyped up. And I wonder if next year we're going to be looking at like $250 tickets. In which case, I'm more inclined to going.
I could do it for $250, but for $1,000 plus, that doesn't tickle my fancy, especially since I don't have to deal with Miami traffic from home. Right. I don't have to buy an $87 bottle of water. Just saying.
Yeah.
Maybe one day, but today's not that day.
I will be watching the Miami Grand Prix. And we'll probably talk about it more next. It's not this weekend. It's the next weekend.
Yeah.
So on the next show, we'll probably do a little preview of it. And yeah, it should be pretty neat.
Agreed. But shall we move on?
Let's do it.
All right. So I've got a new segment that I thought of. It's another little brainchild. And it's about deciding whether an aftermarket add-on or accessory would be what we would call in the car world rice or nice. So let's play a little game. Are you ready?
Rice being it's aftermarket.
It's just kitschy. It's just bad. Yeah. It's just like
little
you
cringy.
You see it and you're like, yeah.
That's
not so good, man.
And nice being nice to our eyes.
Car enthusiasts would actually appreciate it.
Okay.
Right? Like you could go to AutoZone and you could get like the chrome plated fuel filler flap that the sticker on. That is obviously going to be what?
That could be nice.
That's going to be rice.
Could be rice.
It's rice.
It could be, depending.
No. There's no car that is nice on. That is just rice.
PT Cruiser.
Rice. All right. So let's play a game of rice or nice, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. So the aftermarket accessory that I'm going to pose you the question of today is caliper covers. So brake caliper covers. Not the actual caliper itself, but a cover that goes over the caliper.
This is a thing?
It is a thing.
I did not know that this was a thing.
Are brake caliper covers rice or nice?
For sure rice.
100%.
Is it a piece of plastic you legitimately just put over the caliper?
Yeah, I think it's metal, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And this beautiful example that we have is a very cheesy, ricey looking caliper cover that just says Mopar.
My Mopar brakes.
Yeah.
On Challenger.
It's not very good.
I will say, of all the vehicles to put it on, the Challenger, not a bad one to put it on. Like, honestly, if this was on a Civic, it'd really stick out.
It's just not good.
I agree with you. It's rice. Because you should just get Brembo's or some normal brake company.
Or just paint your actual calipers.
You can do that.
Just paint your calipers. Don't put a $25 caliper cover thing on it. That's just rice. It's not nice.
It is rice.
All right.
So I'll be on the lookout for other mods that I see.
We're gonna have to play some more rice or nice. So
I mean, the classic example is the grapefruit shooter a big exhaust tip
Yeah.
on the back of a Civic.
Well, of course.
And that's like the definition of rice.
Yeah, correct. Yes. Right. Another mod that I would say is rice and not nice would be the chrome stick-on side vents that you see inevitably on like a Chrysler Town and Country minivan.
Yes.
Right. They stick out. They're just like a sticker of like a side gill vent for the pressures that are being essential, almost like louvers, right?
Yes.
And that's obviously rice.
They are there for aerodynamic purposes only.
Uh-huh.
All right, I like that segment.
Yeah, so we'll do some more rice or nice. And if you're listening or watching and you think of and or see something that you would consider rice or nice, shoot it over. I would love to chat about that.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But I do have an interesting story.
Okay.
So this past week, I had a young man from the Netherlands come over. We worked on trying to get his license and all this good stuff. He was successful, very good driver, a pleasant guy to have in the car. But something I like to ask everyone is like the question that you and I talk about a lot is like, if you have unlimited money, what do you buy? And he told me that like his ultimate dream car is a Lamborghini Huracan.
Okay.
And I was like, well, brother, welcome to Florida. Let me show you 1, 2. How many would you like to see?
Yeah.
So while he was here for a week, I asked him, I said, have you ever seen one? He's like, I saw one once ever. And I was like, oh boy, we're going to have to change that. So every chance I get to inject a little bit more spirit into a young budding car enthusiast, I take that opportunity.
Heck yeah.
So you know what I did?
Found him a Lamborghini.
I found him a bunch.
Ooh.
I went to the Lamborghini dealer with him. We had like an extra 5 minutes, so I said, you told me that a Huracan is like your ultimate dream car, right? He goes, yeah. I said, you want to see one? He goes, yeah. And I'm like, all right. So we pull in. He goes, oh my God, look at, they're everywhere. Walked inside, Huracan Evo rear wheel drive, Aventador S. There's like 8 Uruses out front. He's like, I've never seen so many Lamborghinis. Murcielagos everywhere.
Did he see the showroom?
Yeah.
Did he see the one car in the showroom?
The Countach in there.
Yeah.
Yep. And I was like, so, your dream car, Huracan. Would you like 8 of them? How about that? He's like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. So every chance I get to just kind of keep the car enthusiast alive, I jump at it.
Yeah. That's super cool.
It just felt good to do. Because as soon as we pulled into the parking lot, you just see the eyes light up and the whole facial expressions and features just brighten up. And he's just so stoked just to see Lamborghinis.
I think that's something that we take for granted.
It is.
And something we probably shouldn't take for granted as much as we do. But living around here, we've seen so many of them at this point that they're just, I don't know.
It's just like regular traffic at this point.
But if you're from another country where that's a very, very rare thing, and in most countries that is.
Yeah.
Unless you're in Italy by the factory.
Mm-hmm.
Then yeah, it's a big deal to come over here and see a whole bunch of Mercedes, a whole bunch of Teslas, a whole bunch of Lamborghinis and Ferraris.
The things.
Right. All the high-end cars.
It just is fun to do.
Yeah, that's super cool. I would do that with a lot of students if I could.
Yeah, every chance I get where there's someone where there's a little bit of a fire in them to kind of like, are you going to be a car enthusiast? I think we can keep that spark alive.
So if he's from the Netherlands, was he a good driver?
Actually, better than the majority of students I have here.
Could he Scandinavian flick?
He probably, I don't know, probably not, because a Scandi flick is that is quite the maneuver that professional rally drivers execute.
Right.
But funny story about a Scandi flick, though. Guess where I'm going this weekend?
Where?
I've got a little instructing gig that I'm going to. It's out at Sebring, and we get to borrow the skid pad for a little bit.
That's always fun.
And I get to get people a little bit sideways.
Very sideways.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It's always fun when this event comes around because it's like, am I working? Yes. But just a lot of fun.
We're sliding around. Do they wet the skid pad?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We're sliding around.
Sprinkler is on. Let's go.
Wet
Slip and
concrete. Slide. Oh, boy. Yeah.
Slippery and wet.
I do hope that you mess with the students. If you can, just slide a little e-brake tug once in a while. Get them doing full 360s.
It's a fun event. It's a fun event.
That's cool. That is very cool. All right. So as you have been driving around with your students, have you seen anything other than a whole bunch of Lamborghinis?
I saw a bunch of Lamborghinis, but this week has been very Audi R8 heavy.
Oh,
I've seen a lot of R8s. Yellow R8s, black R8s, white R8s, silver R8s. The yellow is the most exciting color.
did you see a blue one? Dark blue.
No.
Okay.
Don't think so.
I happen to, but it's okay.
I might have, but I don't think so. I don't remember. I just saw a bunch of R8s.
Mm-hmm.
But my spot of the week is something much slower. My spot of the week goes to a car that doesn't know how to use turn signals.
Mm-hmm.
A BMW.
Oh.
And it's an old BMW. It is a BMW 2002, which surprisingly is not from the year 2002. It's from the years 1968 to 1975. That's when the 2002 was made.
Okay.
So the 2002 was not made in 2002. The 2002 is made from 1968 to 1975.
That's confusing.
For those of you that don't understand it, yes. But 2002 is kind of a cool little car. It is such a stylish little BMW.
It is small.
Oh, it's
It is
tiny.
very small.
I love it.
I think it's cool.
It is such a cool little car.
Yeah.
The spec that I saw is very similar to the spec that we're looking at, is that light blue. It's one of my favorite BMW. It's not particularly fast.
I don't imagine so.
It had 106 horsepower. It was, I don't know, it either had a 3-speed auto or a 4-speed manual, depending on the trim.
Yep.
It did 0 to 60 in almost 10 seconds.
Ooh.
This is from the late 60s, early 70s. So there's that. Top speed was a whopping 104 miles per hour.
It got
Let's
3 digits.
go. It did.
I'd be terrified at 3 digits in that car.
Yo, look at how narrow the tires are. Good God. This car was actually touted for being not necessarily fast, but nimble.
Oh, okay.
It only weighed 2,100 pounds.
That's light.
Yeah. So
for like that era, that is light.
it's not a big car.
No.
So it's a cool little. They're so stylish too.
Yeah.
Isn't that like such just a cool looking little car?
I love the little headlights, just the simple bulbs, and then the BMW grille.
Yeah,
in
the kidney
front.
grills.
The kidney, the 2 vertical kidneys look really good.
They look great. Now, an observation.
Okay.
Do you see the horizontal grills that lead from the headlight to the narrow BMW kidney grills in the middle?
Mm-hmm.
The horizontal grills, if you flipped them vertical, are the same size as the current M3 and M4 grills.
Yes, they are.
Oh my God. Can you... The current M3 grill could actually swallow this entire car. I think it could just drive into the grill and park in the grill as like a garage, I think.
Probably.
It's so tiny. You just want to put it in your pocket.
I think that the IMSA version of the BMW has bigger brake ducting entrances than the kidney bean on that BMW. Just to cool the brakes.
I think the brake caliper is bigger than honestly the entire kidney grills on this car.
You're probably right.
It's I don't want to use the word cute, but this car is kind of cute.
It's kind of cute.
Like,
yeah.
I don't want to sound like a wimpy little guy, but this is such an adorable little car. You just want to like pinch its cheeks and like, hey buddy, how you doing?
It's just driving around town.
Yeah,
Old guy.
Middle-aged.
Oh wow. Okay.
Not like a gazillion years old, but
Okay.
middle-aged, right?
So, car enthusiast or not?
I think if you own a 2002, you are either a car enthusiast in general or a strict BMW person.
Or is this just a really hand-me-down car?
I don't think this is a hand-me-down car.
No?
I think hand-me-down car, it could have been a hand-me-down car in the 90s.
Okay.
But now it's to the point where if you have it, you know what you have.
Yeah, because you probably would have sold it for something else.
It'd been gone to the wayside a million years ago if this was a hand-me-down car.
You're probably right.
I love a 2002.
Yeah.
I really love a BMW 2002. I
like these cars. These car spots way more than the R8s and the Huracans.
Because we just talked about it. We live here where
Right.
we have R8s and Huracans as far as the eyes can see.
Mm-hmm.
But when's the last time you saw a BMW 2002?
Which was released not that year.
Correct.
Not even close.
It was released, 30 years before its name?
Yeah. Future looking.
Yes, yeah, something like that.
That's a cool spot.
That's my spot of the week.
Okay. Mine, I did see that R8. It was blue with black trim. I was wondering if you happened to see it. It was around our fancy mall.
Okay.
And then I saw a series of 458s, and they were all different. And I want to get your take on which one you like the most.
Okay.
The series that I saw started with a red with the beige interior and the silver rims. The stock 458, right?
Okay, silver wheels, yeah.
Yep, that's what you would probably likely get if you were going to get a 458, if me or you were.
Mm-hmm.
Then I saw blue with, I don't remember the interior, but then silver rims. And the blue it wasn't Miami blue. It was more like my Subaru blue, maybe even slightly darker.
Yep.
Right. I think that comes stock. Not exactly sure.
It does.
And then I saw black with black rims and like yellow calipers.
Black with what?
With black rims and yellow calipers. So the yellow really popped on that car. What would you take? Red with silver rims, blue with silver rims, black with black rims for a 458.
I would say, you want my honest answer?
Yeah.
I would think I would do the blue.
The blue. Really?
Yeah. Really, really like the blue.
Why would you want the blue?
Because it's different than the standard red.
It is.
It is. I like silver wheels more specifically. Was the blue you saw blue Scotia, blue Abu Dhabi? It's probably either blue Abu Dhabi or blue Scotia.
Yeah, I could tell you.
That's my guess.
It's one of those two.
But I know the blue that you're talking about. That blue with silver wheels is such a good spec. I am a big fan of that.
I agree. But is blue on a Ferrari a proper Ferrari color?
Is it correct or is it good? I think it's good, but I don't necessarily know if it's correct. So, for example, one of the guys we had on the podcast a while ago, Dan Kim, right? He shared a video of, I believe, the exact same kind of blue, but on a Ferrari LaFerrari.
Ooh.
And I'll be honest, my heart melted a little bit.
Yeah.
Blue, because the badge is yellow. So the yellow and the blue works really nicely, and the silver wheels tie it really, really well together. Now, if that car had a like that brown beige interior, that would be money spec for me. Ooh, baby. Give me that all day long. I'm kind of, to be honest, I'm kind of tired of black on black black wheels. Black on black spec is. I'm kind of tired of it. It's just kind of like.
I've seen a lot of it lately. I will say the black on black with the yellow calipers. I thought it should be a Lamborghini.
That
not
is
a Ferrari.
It's a good Lamborghini spec. It's a good McLaren spec.
Yes.
Ferrari, it needs some color.
Yeah, I agree. But I would probably end up going with the red with the silver rims because you can't go wrong with the Ferrari red.
Ferrari red is proper.
But I agree with you.
Tifosi would love you for that. That's the whole point.
It might feel like it's too proper.
That's kind of why I would say the blue, because it's good, but is it too standard?
You're going to blend in at the Ferrari show.
Yeah.
Just blend right in.
Yeah.
But with the blue, you're going to pop out a little bit.
You can have a little extra pizzazz.
A little bit. Not a ton. Yeah.
Plus, it's just classy. Blue. Silver. Make silver wheels great again.
They're trying. Mm-hmm. So those are my spots. Nothing else super interesting.
I love it. I'm good with that.
Yep.
So we are starting to get a little long on time. I think it's about time we wrap up here, which leaves, I wish they would have.
Indeed.
So I'll pose you the question first. What do you wish they would have for episode 61?
I wish that more cars, because there are certain cars that do this, but more cars came with a singular center lug nut.
Ooh. Why?
Ease of use.
What if I told you it's not easier?
I've heard that. In theory, it's easier. In practicality, I've heard it's not easier.
It requires so much more torque to loosen it.
Yes.
It is impossible.
Doing 4 to 6 lug nuts, like a standard car has, is kind of a pain in the ass.
Yes.
When you have a flat, it's annoying.
I will tell you, if you have a flat with the center lug and you don't have the special breaker bar that will allow you to increase the amount of torque you twist that center cap off with, that's probably more of a pain in the ass because you are not taking that tire off. I can damn well guarantee it.
All you need is a big breaker bar.
You need a big sumbitch.
Yeah, because I know they do take a ton of torque. And that's why you see lug nuts rolling down and into the Porsche's radiators in the IMSA pit road.
Like 30,000 RPM or something
because
like
they're
that.
spinning real fast with a lot of torque.
Yeah.
But from a simplicity standpoint, they're so great.
I see your point. From a simplicity standpoint, the logic makes sense, but can I give you another standpoint?
Sure.
They look freaking cool.
They look awesome.
They look so badass.
And you can do unique, interesting things with the rims that you normally cannot do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You could do a different colored lug.
Yeah.
Oh.
You could do 5 different
yeah, but that looks
lugs.
ugly.
It does. It's not the same.
A single, like a red lug, looks really cool.
Mm-hmm. I want the vehicle to be as simple as possible for maintenance and ease of use purposes. And in theory, that's the solution for the wheel problem.
In theory, yes.
In practicality, it might not be.
Yeah, because it requires too much torque and too many specialized tools that have not really gotten into most common garages yet.
If you are working on your own car in your own garage, I can guarantee you have a breaker bar somewhere.
Not big enough for a center lock lug.
A 20-footer.
We run into this problem with my old man's car.
Yeah, he does have center lugs, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got center locks on his 911. And if you don't order like the special, it's like $1,000 specialized tool just to remove the center lug. It's like your SOL.
I mean, why can't they standardize that? Why can't it just be?
I think we're too late to standardize that.
I think we are too. And I also think that it would create problems with theft and yada yada. So,
yeah.
I just want the cars and wheels to be simple. That's all I want.
Fair enough.
Do you have anything?
I do have an I wish they would have that is thought of because of my Volkswagen.
Oh, boy.
We may have talked about this. I don't know. But it's top of mind for me right now.
Okay.
I wish that your car could tell you exactly what's gone wrong and how to fix it. Not just like, hey, your coolant's low, but like, yo, you don't have literally a single drop of coolant. It's all fallen out of this particular hose, which is loose. Or your radiator is now mushed into a million pieces. You need a new radiator. I wish cars could tell you exactly what was wrong and not keep mysteries from me with one little bulb on the dash. And I wish it told me how to fix it.
Debatably, you could get an OBD scanner. You could scan it, get a code, Google a code, figure out what the internet thinks is the best solution.
I don't want the internet to think what's the best solution.
I know.
I want to just simply ignition on the little info thing in the middle of my tach and speedometer, and it say coolant hose to radiator seal missing. Something.
Yeah.
Not just, yo, coolant's low, bro. You should top up with some coolant.
You should be lucky they told you anything.
You're God.
I see what you mean.
I
think that the car should be smart enough to tell you. Certainly, it's telling you something. It's telling you something related to your radiator or coolant is a problem. Mm-hmm. But it should be smart enough to tell you, like, hey, it's likely between point A and point B, and like here's the list of possible things it could be, and here are the solutions to those things. Mm-hmm. That'd be great. But you're asking way too much for the current car and the current car industry. Maybe when EVs are a thing.
Yes, because there's nothing to go wrong.
Exactly. Exactly. And if something goes wrong, it's probably on a sensor because they're loaded with sensors. But you won't be the one to fix it because that's dangerous for you to fix. And the car manufacturer will say that's dangerous when really they're not allowing your right to repair your own car. But I won't go down. I won't go down the right to repair rabbit hole right now.
We can talk about that later.
Yes, that's another topic for another time.
So yeah, that was my I wish they would have.
I like it. It also lends credence to my simplify the car.
Fair.
Simplify it.
Fair. All right, so I guess that's going to wrap us up for episode 61 then, isn't it?
I think that's it.
All right, so thank you all so much for watching if you're on YouTube and listening if you're on audio only. If you are on YouTube, make sure you leave us a thumbs up and a comment and hit that subscribe button. That'd be awesome. If you're listening on audio only, so, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you're listening, make sure if you could leave us a 5-star rating and a review. Would love to take a look at those, read those over, maybe laugh at them because some of them can be kind of funny. And make sure you're following us on social and send us your I wish they would haves and your rice or nice.
Oh, yeah.
Socials, Facebook is We Are Auto, Instagram is We Are Auto _, YouTube is We Are Auto, and our website is weareauto.io. So again, thank you so much for watching and listening, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.